Copper Sun by Sharon Draper, Part 6, Polly, Chapter 25, Birth of a Baby. Early one morning, about 2 weeks later, the doorway of the kitchen was suddenly darkened by the unexpected shadow of Mr. Derby. He looked surprisingly agitated. Polly dropped the spoon she had in her hand. She watched as Amari moved swiftly to the back of the small room to try to make herself invisible. Tidbit ran behind his mother. Even the dog hid in a corner. "Where's Lena?" Mr. Derby roared. Tina looked around in confusion. "She ain't here, massa. I ain't seen her since last night," Tina said truthfully. "And what about Flora? I swear I'll kill her if she's not back at the house when I return." "I ain't seen her either, massa," Tina said as she stirred the kettle wildly. "I've been cooking all the morning." "Well, why is it that when I need a slave, they all disappear?" He strode across the kitchen and swept plates and platters to the floor in a fury. He stopped directly in front of Amari, who cowered at his feet. "Why aren't you in the rice fields like I ordered?" he demanded. Polly could see that Amari had no answer. She knew that Amari had learned that when given a direct order, a slave's best bet is to when not given a direct order, a slave's best bet was to say nothing. Mr. Derby looked at Polly. "Does the African understand English yet?" "Yes, sir. A little, sir," Polly replied. "What is he going to do?" she wondered, her fear growing. "Do you know anything about childbirth?" he asked Polly suddenly. "Sir?" Polly asked, confused. Then she realized Mrs. Derby must be in labor. Mr. Derby, with concern edging his voice, said, "Isabel is about to have the child. I've sent Noah to Charles for the doctor, but it will be several hours before they return." He wrung his hands. Polly had never seen him look helpless or afraid. "She's in a lot of pain. Can you help her?" "Yes, sir. Of course, sir," Polly breathed with relief for herself and for Amari as well. Amari would not be taken to the rice swaps, at least not today. "And you," he said, pointing to Amari, "get up and help her. Hurry. I'll ride to the next plantation for more help." He stormed out of the kitchen, leaving behind sudden sighs of relief. "You ever help birth a baby child?" Teeny asked Polly. "Never," Polly replied frantically. "What about you?" Teeny asked Amari. "Yes, many, many," Amari replied quickly. "Both of you get up there and see to Miss Isabel. Here's boiled water. Hurry." Amari and Polly rushed out of the kitchen and up to the big house, their first trip back since the night of the spilled pie. They climbed the stairs as quickly as they could, without splashing the hot water, and tiptoed down the highly polished wood floor of this upstairs hallway, searching for Mrs. Derby's room. Ordinarily, several slaves would be in the house, cleaning or washing, but today, oddly, there were none. Clay was nowhere to be seen either. "Oh, Lord in heaven," they heard Mrs. Derby cry out from the first room on the right. She lay in her bed, which was surrounded on all four sides with thin linen curtains. Huge pillows surrounded her pale face. She moaned in pain as Amari and Polly entered the room and pulled back the curtains. She looked at the two girls and tried to smile weakly. "You must help me," she said, desperation in her voice. If the baby is, she could not finish the sentence. "Yes, ma'am," Polly replied. "We will make sure you and your baby will be just fine." Polly had never been so close to a woman who was about to have a baby, and she was more than a little frightened. The smell of sweat and body fluids was overpowering. "You don't understand," Mrs. Derby said, as another labor pain gripped her. "You must help my baby." "Baby, good thing," Amari said, trying to reassure her. Mrs. Derby inhaled sharply, cried out once more, and tightly grabbed a handful of the sheet. When the contraction passed, she said urgently, "I will die, but you must save my baby." "You not die, Mrs.," Amari said in her most soothing voice. "Babies be born every day." "She's talking out of her head," Polly said to Amari. "Let's help her get more comfortable." They adjusted her blankets, set up clean cloths and towels close by, and made sure the hot water was ready in the basin. Polly hoped Amari knew what to do. Amari touched Mrs. Derby's bulging belly and declared, "Baby, come quick, very soon." The labor pains rolled faster and stronger with each contraction. Mrs. Derby was turning red with exertion and pain. The girls massaged her hands, washed her face with cool water, and helped her through each contraction by talking to her gently and quietly. Soon it was apparent that the baby had no intention of waiting for a doctor or Mr. Derby or anyone else. Mrs. Derby arched her back, screamed, and passed out. Polly lifted the blankets and saw the baby's head. She motioned to Amari, who gently eased the baby out. The infant cried, lusty, loud, and healthy. Amari held the child with a look of wonder on her face. "Beautiful baby," Polly heard her whisper. Polly brought Amari some wet towels to clean the baby off. It was a little girl with bright green eyes like her mother and curly dark hair. Then she froze, her hand still extended. Oh, my Lord, Polly exclaimed. The child is black.